Sup, everyone. It is Joey D and Timmy B, and we finally have football tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It is here. The first game that matters of the NFL regular season starts tonight with the Buccaneers hoisting up the banner and everything like that and celebrating their Super Bowl championship. But before we pick that game, Joe, we got to give our preseason predictions. And first of all, man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Timmy B. We've got all the fantasy drafts done.
Oof.
My teams are stacked. You guys are screwed.
Not according
And
to that ESPN projection, buddy.
those things are never right. It's usually the exact opposite. So since I have me getting last, that means I'm definitely going to get first. So I'm pumped there. It was fun to go through all the schedules for each team and make predictions for everyone's record. And now football is here, man. The lineups are set. It's game time, and I could not be more excited.
I cannot be more excited as well, Joe. But before we hop into those records and our predictions and everything, make sure if you're watching this, hit that thumbs up button as well as hitting that subscribe button as well to show us that you like football as well. Now, Joe, we were both talking about what division we were going to do first. We were like, let's do the NFC. Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. Congratulations to them. So let's start off with the NFC. And we both had your division, the NFC East, first. So I'll kick it off with you, Joe. I got to look this way when I'm talking to you because you're on that side. So how do you see your division going out 1-4, and what's everybody's record?
Yeah, so 1-4, I've got Washington, and then the Cowboys, and then the Eagles and the Giants. I've got it pretty close. I've got Washington going 10-7, Dallas going
Okay.
9-8, the Eagles going 7-10, and the Giants going 6-11. So I could see this division shaking out a couple different ways. I think this one's also a little bit tricky to project because while it doesn't have the same level of wins as another competitive division like the NFC West, it does have competitiveness between how bad all four of these teams are. So any of these teams could end up pulling it out, especially since a lot of these teams play each other the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how it unfolds and how it comes down. I lost a lot of faith in the Eagles after last year. So, I'm not going to, put myself on a limb like I did last year and make a fool out of myself. And I know that the Cowboys have a very good offense. They have the best quarterback in
Mhm.
the division, but the Washington football team is just the more complete team, and that defense is for real. And I just really don't see the Cowboys team chemistry coming together and being able to do all that much. So I got them going 9-8 though. I think this is going to be a little bit better division than it was last year, but not by a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's going to be better than last year, and it's also going to be very similar to last year too, where toward the end of the season we might be like, oh, there's going to be a 6-10 team or 6-11 team winning the division. I think it is going to be a little bit better, and the winning team, we're going to be like, all right, well, every team's like 6-6 right now, so it's only going to be a 8, 9, 10 win team winning the division. I had the same thing as you. I had Washington getting in first place at 10-7. I have the Cowboys in second place, but at a record of 8-9. I think the football team will be a little bit better. Joe, I pains me to say this: the Eagles are coming in third, but your guys are only going to get 5 wins this year. You guys are going to get 5-12. I
Oh,
think it's going to be a very rude awakening for some of you Philly fans who might be a little bit more energetic. But it's a roster's not that great. It's very old, very very banged up, very injured. I'm excited for your offense, excited for
it's
Hurts and
not
Smith and
injured.
all.
It's not injured.
Oh, not
Who's
yet, not
injured?
yet, not
Not
yet.
yet. Not yet. Nick Sirianni's done a good job with the practices. I don't. I think you're sleeping a little bit. I think we're gonna surprise
Uh,
people a little bit more than
hey,
people expect.
hey, my friend Nick thinks that the Eagles could have the worst record in football this year. So at least I'm not doing that, Joe. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
not
think it's
true.
going to be 5 wins. And then I have the Giants coming out and 4-13. I like Saquon's going to carry them to 2, 3, 4 wins basically by himself. The defense is going to hold out for a couple of wins. But other than that, 4-13 for the Giants. All right, Joe. Now, the next
Okay,
up.
real quick. Give me your Eagles and Giants quarterback prediction after this year. Are Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones still the guys in Philly and New York after this season?
Well, after Joe Flacco takes over no, no, I do think that Jalen Hurts, like you said, he's going to show enough. Maybe not in the wins and the losses, maybe not in the record, but we will see that promise from him and Devonte. And I think the chemistry is going to grow throughout the season. So I think with all of the Eagles draft capital, they will say, "Hey, Jalen is the guy. We got all. Let's surround him with some good pieces around him." So I do think that. I just don't think it's going to show with the record. This is
That
it
would be
for
fine with me.
yeah.
That would be best case scenario for me.
But I don't think Daniel Jones is the answer in New York. He's not going to do anything to convince him to stay or even give him an extension or anything like that. I don't want to say bust because he might go to another team and do very well. We don't know that. But he will definitely be a bust for the Giants, and they'll be looking for another quarterback, whether in free agency, trade, or early in the draft.
Yep, both of these teams have a lot of draft capital, so both of them have the ability to move on from their quarterback very quick. And I think it's going to shake out the same way that you did with Jalen Hurts cementing himself as the franchise QB for the Philadelphia Eagles, and Daniel Jones being shipped off for peanuts somewhere, and the Giants going after, you know, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers wants to go there. I hope to God him and Russell Wilson don't. Um, I think the Giants will be looking for a new quarterback though.
Hey, well, if they do go after Russell Wilson, that's where he did win the Super Bowl in the Meadowlands. So maybe, although it was his
Uh,
defense winning that game. But Joe, now let's move on to the NFC North. We talked about them a couple of episodes ago, and we kind of agreed that it's going to go the same way. Green Bay is going to win. Now that it's official, and these are your official predictions, Joe. Who do you have battling it out for second? I think we agree it's going to be between the Bears and the Vikings, but who's edging that out? Let's see your NFC North.
I know how to, sit on a hedge right here, Tim, and sit on a fence and
Mhm.
play both sides. I got them both going 6-11. I got both
Whoa!
of them being bad football teams this season. Andy Dalton is garbage. They're gonna feel like they gotta put Justin Fields in, and I don't think he's the answer either. I do not trust Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace's judgment. When has the Bears ever had a good franchise quarterback? And now we're supposed to say that the team that assessed Mitchell Trubisky as a better quarterback than was it Mahomes in that draft?
Mahomes was in that. Yeah, Mahomes
Yep,
was in there. Deshaun Watson as well, and,
yep,
and they're. I mean, Jay Cutler was very good for them,
yeah.
but they didn't draft him and develop him. They traded for him.
Exactly. And when Jay Cutler is your, best franchise QB that you've had, then,
Pretty
you
much
haven't
ever
had
too.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You haven't had very good quarterback play. So I do not think that Justin Fields is going to be the answer. I think it's going to be a rough year for the Bears. And I think that the Vikings, it's just going to kind of fall apart for them. I mean, they've got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. What else do they got? Their defense does not look like it's the
Mhm.
same. The offensive line is not great. It's an okay offensive line, and you got Kirk Cousins, a quarterback who evidently wants to walk around surrounded in plexiglass, for the entire season. So that goes to tell you, how smart their starting quarterback is. So I just don't think that this is going to be a good season for either of them. We could see some Kellen Mond this season. I think that as soon as the Vikings start struggling, then they'll be quick to pull the trigger on Kellen Mond and yanking Kirk. But ultimately, I don't think either of these teams do well. But they do better than the Lions, who I got going 3-14.
Hey, I
Um,
also have the Lions going 3-14. Now, who's winning the
let's
tiebreaker
go.
between the Bears and the Vikings? 6-11.
Oh man, Tim. It could be a dead tie. Just a split. And they both beat the Lions once, maybe, and lose to the Lions once, and they beat each other once and lose to each other once, lose to the Packers twice. It's going to come down to points. So I guess I'd go with the Vikings if it comes down to points there over the Bears. So, and that's what I've actually got written down: Packers at 14-3, and then the Vikings, and then the Bears 6-11, and then the Lions at 3-14.
Well, we definitely agree on the top and the bottom. I also have the Packers at 14-3. I think they're the second best team in the NFC, behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A little bit of an easier schedule as well. I mean, when you're playing with your division, Lions at 3-14. I actually disagree with you, Joe. I'm actually a believer in Justin Fields. Now, call me crazy. I'm definitely a believer in him, and it's not a matter of if he starts, it's when he takes a starting job from Andy Dalton, and we'll see when that is. It could be as early as week 2, or it could be week 10. We don't know. It could even be week 16, 17, 18 for the final couple of games. But I have the Bears going 9-8. I think the defense is going to be back a little bit, and this is do or die for Matt Nagy, and I think he knows that. So I think he's going to really give it himself to get over that hump. I mean, we forget, Joe, with Trubisky last year, they were the 7th seed in the Nickelodeon game. So I definitely don't see that. I do agree with you. I do think the Vikings are going to, and I don't want to keep using the term rude awakening, but I think they're going to have to really do some reevaluation for their team buildup. But you name Thielen, Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. They drafted Kellen Mond, who was very good at Texas A&M. So they have some of the pieces, but it's like, what can we do to get over the hump? So I think that they're going to be shifting around a lot to get some draft capital and some salary cap room in the offseason. I have them going 7-10. I definitely could see them going 6-11. As we discussed, I gave a lot of teams 6, 7, 8 wins when I probably should have been giving them 4, 5, and 6. So that's how my division is looking now: Packers, Bears, Vikings, and Lions. Now, I'll leave it up to you, Joe. Do you want to talk about the South next and the West?
Let's go with the South.
All righty. Well, the South is going to be interesting for me. I have all right. We'll start with the best. I have Tampa Bay. I will not reveal my record for them because it's one of my bold predictions that I'll talk about when we get to the Super Bowl. But
Uh-oh.
as I said last week when we did the NFC South, I am a believer in the Panthers. Our friend Fab left a great comment talking about how young the defense is, but how the defense is good. Their secondary, only one guy has NFL experience with their defensive backs, not the safeties, of course, but it's going to fall on Sam Darnold. I think in Joe Brady's system with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, reuniting with Robbie Anderson, tight end could be a little bit weak, but a little bit young. So I have the Panthers going 10-7. I think that they're going to get over the hump
Wow.
and get 10 wins. Likewise, kind of with the Vikings and the Eagles, I think the Saints are going to have a little bit of a rough year than expected. I don't think that roster is really that good without Drew Brees. I have them going 7-10. I'll stick with 7-10. I'll stick with 7-10 because I do think that the system is there. I just don't think with Jameis Winston and then Sean Payton trying to start Taysom Hill for a game, I know that's going to happen. And then the Falcons, they're just rookie head coach, no Julio Jones. They still have the talent, but I just don't think it's in the cards for them this year. I have them going 4-13. So once again, Tampa Bay at the 1,
Bless you.
Panthers at 10-7, Saints 7-10, and Falcons 4-13. Bless you, Brooke. Now, Joe, how's your South looking?
So it's pretty similar. I got the Bucs leading the way at 15-2.
Hmm.
I'll reveal my prediction. I think they, are the number one seed in the NFC, and just start off hot against Dallas tonight. And they're just going to be, like, we forget how little chemistry this team had and Tom Brady had with this, his receivers, his offensive line, his coaching staff. And how he was really kind of gaining that chemistry throughout last season. Now they've had a full off season. They brought all 22 starters back. This team is ready to run it back again, and I really think they will. So I got them kind of dominating this division at 15-2. I got the Panthers in second at 8-9. I don't think
Ooh.
they're there yet to really kind of take that next step into the playoffs. But I think that in the following year,
Mhm.
that's really going to be when they're ready. I think that they'll be a trendy pick next year.
Ooh, okay.
Um, but the Saints and the Falcons, I struggled with, you know, giving these teams as many wins as, I did. I ended up giving them an extra win after, I went through my wins and losses because I really don't see it with this team, with either of these teams. I've got the Saints going 6-11, and I've got the Falcons going 5-12. Um, I like you said, this Saints roster without Drew Brees, without a lot of defensive pieces. I mean, it's just not a very threatening roster. I mean, in my mind, the best thing they have going for them is Sean Payton, and I don't know if that's going to be enough to overcome all these deficiencies. And the Falcons, it's kind of similar. I just don't think that this is a very talented roster overall outside of Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts and,
Mhm.
a slowly declining Matt Ryan. He's still a very good quarterback,
Mhm.
but, he's not the, MVP caliber QB that we saw a couple years ago. So, I don't think this is going to be a very close division. I only have the Bucs making the playoffs here.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting to see. Now we're going to move to the NFC West, Joe, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago that every team can make the playoffs in this division. Every team could even win the division. And looking at your records right now, I think that might be the case, Joe. So I would love to hear your records for the NFC West and see exactly how it unfolds because your only other team, non-division winner above 500 is the Cowboys. So is every team in the NFC West making the playoffs this year?
That's exactly what's happening, Tim. I've got the Rams winning the division at 12-5. I've got the
Alrighty.
Seahawks and the Niners both going 11-6, with the Seahawks just edging out the Niners with the tiebreaker. And then I've got the Cardinals going 9-8. And I've got all four of these teams in the playoffs. You know, this is a tough division. It could really go a number of ways, but I'm ultimately going with the projection of Matt Stafford combined with Sean McVay and all of these really good receiving options that Stafford has, as well as a dominant defense. I think that defense is still going to be one of the best, if not the best, in the league next year. Between Matt Stafford having one of the best years of his career and Aaron Donald continuing to dominate and the defense doing well, I've got them winning it, just barely at 12-5. Seattle, it's tough because I love me some Russell Wilson. I just don't have a very good feeling about them this year. I could see them doing a little bit worse than where I've got them at right now at 11-6. But I mean, ultimately, this is a veteran team that constantly finds ways to win, and I think that I just trust Russell Wilson more than pretty much anyone else. I don't feel great about the defense. I don't feel great about the front office situation. I just feel like there's a little bit of division there, and that doesn't really lead to lasting success throughout the season. This 49ers team could edge them out. They could even end up being the number one seed. I mean, just 2 years ago they went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's back. He's got some more weapons than he did. Everyone's back and healthy. And I mean, if Trey Lance ends up coming in at some point and is an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo, that's a really scary team. So, I don't know how good Trey Lance is going to be whenever he gets in or when he gets in. So that's why I kind of got them at third right now. And the Cardinals, I think, are going to just barely nudge into the playoffs. I think that AJ Green is going to have a bounce back year. JJ Watt, Rodney Hudson. This is a team that lost some veteran cornerstones in Larry Fitzgerald and Patrick Peterson.
Hmm.
And, I just, these other veterans that they've brought in, it really helps, just kind of maintain that foundation, that culture that you need to establish, a winning culture. And I think that, these guys, coming in combined with the young talent that's already here, I think they're going to do just well enough to make the playoffs. I don't see them really doing that much in the playoffs. So I just see, this team doing pretty well outside their division.
Yeah, no, I'm with you about the Seahawks. I don't feel good about them at all. I'm also done with the Seahawks. Much like last week in college football, the Alabama and Miami game, everybody on game day was like, Miami, like they got Alabama at the good time, week one, new quarterback, like Miami is going to keep it close. And at that point, I was like, I'm done with this. We hear this every single year. I'm betting Alabama minus 19 and a half or minus 20, whatever the spread was, and they won by like 50. So like, I was like, I'm done with that. And I'm done with the Seahawks as well. I have them coming in last. They're still going to be competitive. They're still going to find
Wow.
ways to win, but I have them going at 8-9, just slightly under 500. Joe, you said it, like let Russ cook, but man, it was brutal to watch them at the end of last year. They lost to the Giants at home 12-7. It's just like I don't
Right.
understand how you guys can be so good, start 4-1, 5-0, Super Bowl pick, and all that stuff, and then wheels fall off the bus. And so I'm just done with that. I'm not going to pick them to do well until they can prove me that they are going to do it again back in the Legion of Boom days. So I have them going 8-9. I do have the Cardinals at 9-8. I agree with everything you said. I think healthy, another full year of Kyler Murray, I think that they're going to be a very good team. Unfortunately, I just think the 49ers and Rams have a little bit more of the coaching experience as well as just better rosters. So I just have the Cardinals coming in at 9-8 and squeaking into that 7 seed. And then I have the 49ers going 10-7. And I can see this, Joe, with the Garoppolo Trey Lance, kind of like the Ravens a couple of years ago, where we had Flacco. We were kind of lingering around 500. Then we said, all right, Lamar's our starter. And then he went, I believe, 6-1, 7-1, or 5 and
Yeah.
1 to get us to the division win. I don't think that'll Trey Lance will get the division win, but I think that might happen as well. Now, the 49ers do have a week 6 bye. I don't think it'll be that soon, but there's probably going to be a point where Shanahan's like, all right, this is our time. We need a little spark in our offense. Like, let's start Trey Lance. And like, he's ready now. He's had a couple more weeks, months, whatever it is to start. And I'm with you. I'm all buying all into Matt Stafford and the Rams. I also have them going at 12-5 and winning the division. I just want like Stafford to do well and win, and
Right.
I think McVay has a nice system. So that's how I am. And so my playoff seeding, I didn't give away the Tampa Bay Buccaneers record yet, as you guys know what I might be alluding to. I've said it a couple of times, but I have them as the number 1 seed, followed up by the Packers. Rams get the 3 seed, football team with the 4 seed, 49ers is the 5 seed. I get the Panthers at 6 and the Arizona Cardinals at 7. Joe, looking at it, it seems like it's Bucs, Packers, Rams, football team, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals.
That's correct.
Awesome. And I know you didn't pick wildcard. We were talking about it before recording. It was pretty much all chalk for me. I mean, I have the Packers beating the Cardinals. I have the Rams beating the Panthers. And I do have the 49ers beating the football team. Wouldn't be surprised if the football team pulled it out, but I just think the 49ers are going to squeak it out just a little bit. Divisional round, Tampa Bay is beating the 49ers. Packers are defeating the Rams. I just don't think the Rams going to Lambeau in January is a good matchup. If it was in LA, maybe I'm picking the Rams in that one if they do flip-flop
Right.
the 2 and the 3 seed, or the 4 and 1, whatever. And my conference championship, Joe, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defending their title against the Packers, this time at home, this time in Tampa Bay, as they move on to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl in back-to-back years. How do your NFC championship playoffs look out?
That's exactly how it played out for me as well, actually. No real shockers. I got the Bucs over the Packers in the NFC Championship. Rodgers and Devante Adams in their, last dance in Green Bay, their final year, they still can't get over the hump. And, unfortunately, they picked a bad time, to, be the second best team in the NFC, with Brady just coming over to Tampa Bay and holding them off 2 years in a row before Aaron Rodgers could have rode off into the sunset and ended his career on a high note. But now he's going to be angry. He's going to want revenge, and it'll be fun to see how the next season goes with where Rodgers and Devante go. But yeah, no, I got the Bucs over the Packers, and the downfall of the Packers beginning from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, that is the NFC. Now it's time for the AFC. Joe, we'll just kind of do the same thing that we did. We'll go with the East first. We talked about this again not too long ago. We talked about pretty much every division not too long ago. This is the Bills' division to lose again. I think they're the second best team in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Bills going 14-3. I don't really see anybody stopping them or threatening them in the division. I see it very much like Tom Brady Patriots, where they're probably going to go 5-1, if not 6-0 in the division. 4-2, 3-3 would be absolutely shocking. I just don't see them losing many divisional games. A little bit of a tough schedule here and there, but not terrible out of division schedule. So I have them going 14-3. I am a believer in the Dolphins and Tua and everything that Byron Scott is doing down there. So very excited for what
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores. Yeah, Byron Scott is some baseball player, somebody else. I don't know why Byron Scott, Brian Flores, excuse me. I'm a believer in everything that they're doing out there. I like their roster. I have them going 9-8, finishing second place. I do have the New England Patriots coming in third at 7-10. Last year they went 8-8. I just don't know if Mac Jones is the answer, and maybe he is, but the talent around him, not that great. Not really much of a running game. They have the 2 tight ends with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. They have Nelson Aguilar and Jacoby Myers. So not a big fan of that offense. I think Bill Belichick's basically going to do just enough to get that 7-8 wins. I just have them at the 7-win mark. And then the Jets, they're going to be bad again. They're the Jets. The roster still needs a little bit of work, but I do enjoy Zach Wilson. I think he's going to do well for them in the next couple of years, but unfortunately I only have them going 4-13. Still need to work out a lot of pieces. I mean, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, not the greatest of mix unless you're John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco, but I have the Jets going 4-13. Joe, how about yourself?
Yeah, pretty similar, honestly. I also have the Bills going 14-3. I've got the Dolphins doing a little bit better at 11-6.
Okay.
I mean, I I really, I hope that, they don't do well so the Eagles get a higher draft pick,
Mhm.
but I just think that, they've got a lot of weapons on offense, and hopefully Tua just isn't asked to do too much. I feel like last year when he was in, it was, a little bit fast for him. He didn't show the elite athletic traits that a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson have been able to show. But with a better understanding of the offense, a full off season, and just a good supporting cast, this team also has a very strong defense and
Mhm.
special teams. So I think that Tua is just not going to be asked to do a ton. He's going to do a good job managing and just making smart decisions, and the Dolphins will be a playoff team. I agree with pretty much everything you said about the Patriots. I have them going 9-8.
Okay.
You talked about how last year they went 8-8, and you don't like what their offense really looks like now. What did it look like last year?
Yeah, good point.
Before they brought all these guys in, like they didn't have, if Nelson Aguilar's your best receiver after a full offseason, what does that say about the receivers you have there? I mean, it's
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers, like Olszewski. Who were the tight ends last year? I
Mhm.
couldn't even tell you really. Now they have two, and that this is going to be a good offensive line. So I think that they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit better than people expect. Mac Jones also kind of in that similar vein to Tua, just manage the offense well, and it's another strong defense. So we talked about how little talent this roster had last season. How many opt outs they had. The injuries. COVID affected them. During the season, and now they've got these guys back. They've upgraded the roster. Despite all that last year, they went 8-8. You know, I think that speaks to the coaching and just the culture of this team. So I could see them doing even better than what I have them at right now at 9-8. Maybe another win here at 10-6. It really depends on Mac Jones,
Yeah.
and they're riding or dying with him. But I think that he's going to be Brady esque enough, throughout the game to get them those wins that they didn't get last year. And who knows how he does in those 2 minute situations. So we'll see what happens there. But I do have him getting another win off last season. And I have the Jets going 5-12, so just one game more than you. I do like Robert Saleh. Their defense is struggling with injuries already. But I do think the offense is going to surprise some people with Zach Wilson, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Michael Carter. It's a young
Mhm.
offense, and they also invest in the offensive line with Mekhi Becton, and they also get Elijah Vera
They
Tucker.
did
Is that
get
right?
Elijah
Yeah.
Bear Tucker. Yeah.
So yeah, I think this offense is going to be a little bit better than they have been. I mean, just getting rid of Adam Gase and getting anyone else, that'll help for sure. So I think that it'll be an improvement over the last couple years for the Jets, but still a little bit away.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I said 4-13. You said 5-12. I think that they're going to be competitive in a lot of games. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, it's the Jets. I think they might just lose a bunch of games 20-17 or 20-14, and it just so happens that the other team was a little bit better and a little bit better roster. So definitely promising things coming at least on one side of New York, as we already talked about the Giants. But now we're moving on to my AFC North, Joe: Ravens, Browns, Steelers, and Bengals. Obviously, I have to pick my Baltimore Ravens winning the division. I have us going 13-4. I think it could be very much like the year we went 14-2. Could be a little bit of a rough start as we're figuring things out with some injuries in the last couple of weeks leading up to the regular season, losing J.K. Dobbins, losing Justice Hill. And then once we get Rashad Bateman, once we get some of these wide receivers or somebody like a Le'Veon Bell that is now on our practice squad, once we get the wheels going and stuff, I think we could be a dominant force. I have us going 13-4. Second place right behind us, I do have the Cleveland Browns. We talked about it for the viewers yesterday, but for us, Joe, last week, it's us two. And I don't think that's really dangerous to say. It's pretty obvious it's us two. I have the Browns going 12-5. They're going to be right there. It's going to come down to the end. We're going to split probably. We played 2 times in 3 weeks, so we'll definitely probably split those matchups. I have the Steelers going 9-8. They're still going to be there. Like, I can't pick them to do any worse just because I know they're the Steelers and I know they're going to be annoying to both us and the Browns. decent roster. And I guess you can make the same argument with the Patriots with the coaching and stuff. They went 8-8 in the Mason Rudolph Duck Hodges year. So I definitely, the Steelers will still be there at 9-8. And then the Bengals, they're going to go 5-12, but like we said with the Jets, they're going to be competitive. We're going to see much improvement from Joe Burrow and that offense. We're going to see some good improvements from the Bengals, but when you're in a division with the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, you're not. That's right there, 4, 5, 6 losses, if not 5 or 6. It's definitely 4. No way the Bengals are going to do that well. So a lot of their wins will come outside of the division, and I think we're going to see a couple of weeks where we see that Joe Burrow 30 for 35, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think we'll see a couple of games with that. So I do think promising things are coming for Cincinnati. It's just that with the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, you can't really pick them until they prove you
Right.
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got it going a little bit differently. I think that, you're a little bit blinded by, those purple glasses and, the Ravens, viewpoint. But, I really worry about, these injuries and, like no J.K. Dobbins now, no, like Sammy Watkins and Rashad Bateman,
Didn't even know
haven't been
Sammy
there. I mean,
Watkins was on the team until we talked about it last
right.
week.
I mean, it's right now on paper, it's a worse offense than it was last year.
Mhm.
And, I don't know if, they're going to be able to catch back up in the second half of the season. And if, the pass rush is going to be there for the Ravens. I mean, we're relying on, an older Justin Houston
Mhm.
and, a rookie, Odafe Ose. Is that right?
Oh wait, oh
Um,
wait.
Owe. Almost. That was close. Um, so, I've got the Ravens getting second place in this division at 11-6. I still think they're going to have a good year, but I think it'll be close. I've got the Browns edging them out at 13-4. Um,
Ooh.
I think Cleveland just has a very complete roster and a lot of depth and a strong coaching staff. And this is a team that tasted success last year and got very close to making it to the Super Bowl. I mean, they got to face Chad Henne in the playoffs, and it came down to a 4th and 1 where Andy Reid and Chad Henne threw the ball. So I think that this Browns team is poised to take a big step this year and win the division at 13-4. Like I said, I think it's going to be close between the Browns and the Ravens. Depending on how the division goes, it could go a
Mhm.
couple different ways. But I think it'll be between those two because I've got the Steelers taking a big step back and Mike Tomlin having his first losing season at 7 and
Hey,
10.
I like to hear that,
Um,
Joe.
I think this defense is legit, and I think that that's going to be the reason they're in a lot of games. But ultimately, this offense is going to just hold them back between this offensive line being brand new and a downgrade at almost every single position, and then Ben Roethlisberger. I don't think that he's ever going to return to form. I think last year is more of the quarterback that he is at this point. And while they added Najee Harris, who I think if this was a team with Super Bowl aspirations,
Mhm.
which they believe themselves to be, then it could make sense. But I mean, when you have a bad offensive line and you're going to be down a lot of games, I don't see a running back making that much of an impact. So I've just got the Steelers going 7-10 here, and I've got the Bengals going 4-13. I hope that the Bengals do a little bit better, but I kind of see them showcasing the talent that they have between, these offensive weapons and a couple of young guys on defense. But I don't believe in Zach Taylor. And I think that, while they're going to be in some games this year, he's going to bungle some calls. He's going to, show. I think it's going to be clear after this season that this is a team that has talent and they need someone to right the ship and
Mhm.
steer them the right way. And I don't think Zach Taylor's the guy. And I think that's going to be clear after this season.
Ooh, that is a fun, bold prediction. And yeah, you said it. We do have a bunch of injuries early on, and it might take some time for us to get the ball rolling. But luckily, our first 5, 6 games are Raiders, Chiefs, then we go Lions, Broncos, Colts. So maybe we're not winning in a dominant Ravens fashion that we've seen with Lamar's offense, and we're winning 38 nothing. but I do think we will win most of those games. So once we get some of those players back from injury or more accustomed to Gus being the number one running back, Le'Veon Bell, as I mentioned, even Tyson Williams, I do think it could be a strong second half for the Ravens. But yeah, it could be a rough first couple of weeks for sure. Now let's go to the South, Joe. We Houston Texans are in here. Last year, I predicted the Jaguars going 1-15. They won week 1, and then they lost the other 15, so that's good. I honestly think it's gonna. Well, except for the Jaguars and Texans, it's gonna. I have Tennessee 12-5, Colts 9-8, Jaguars. I think 5 and. I said 5-10 for whatever reason. I gave 5-12. I don't know why I said 5-10 according to my sheet. And then the Texans going 2-15. This is a bad team. They'll probably squeak out a win or two. Like I'll give them that. But this roster is bad. We talked about how the Carson Wentz and some of the injuries on Indianapolis. I just don't see it happening with them. Titans adding Julio Jones as well as Bud Dupree on the defensive side. Two big acquisitions for a team that's really looking to take that next step. So I have the Titans going 12-5, Colts 9-8, Jaguars 5-12, Texans 2-15. Joe, but that face reaction, are you predicting that the Texans will not win a football game?
Tim, you took the words right out of my mouth, sir. I have the Texans going 0-17. This is a team devoid of talent. They are devoid of an inspiring head coach, and this is a team just shadowed by this Deshaun Watson legal situation. This team, I mean, are we really like who am I gonna see the Texans beating with Tyrod Taylor and all these bum running backs, no defensive talent to really speak of, like who am I who's gonna lose to that team? I mean, I think the Lions are better than the Texans. I really don't see the Texans winning a single game. I just see it being, a distraction all year with Deshaun Watson and, this being a team that, is just, a laughing stock this year. I think they're going to be even worse than the Jets were last year. I mean, it's a team that this is one of the least talented rosters I've ever seen. Like just being quite frank. I mean, Brandon Cooks is probably their best player. Like, or maybe Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll go with Laramie Tunsil there. But then, like, Brandon Cooks, like, as your best threat on offense with nobody else. Like, you got Nico Collins as a number 2 wide receiver. That was like a rookie that they've got. I mean, oh, man, they drafted Davis Mills in the 3rd round. You have no draft picks to speak of and no talent, and you spend one on a quarterback who is not going to be your guy. Like, yeah, I'm spending too much time going on about the Texans. But, yeah, no, I've got the Texans going 0-17. I've got the Jags next at 5-12. We're going from the bottom to the top.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, they're going to be better than last year. But, ultimately, I don't believe in Urban Meyer. And, this is a team that's still a couple years away, even though they're young and they have some talent on the offensive side of the ball. I've got the Colts going 8-9.
Oh,
and,
okay.
We've talked about it. I don't believe in Carson Wentz. This is a team that, is not that talented on offense, especially with the T.Y. Hilton injury. They have a rough slate for a first 5 games between Seahawks, Ravens, Rams,
49ers, Dolphins. I think, are in there as well, I think.
Yeah. It's a rough slate. Like, this team might start out 0-5. I don't think that'll happen because I do believe in Frank Reich and their defense, but I just don't see this offense doing enough. And I think that 8-9 is pretty generous for how poorly I think this offense is going to do. Because I mean, you can have a strong offensive line, a strong run game, but if you can't do anything in the pass game, that doesn't help you. And I got the Titans doing a little bit better than you at 13-4. You mentioned Julio Jones and Bud Dupree. I think those two are huge acquisitions, especially Julio. It's a major upgrade over Corey Davis.
Yeah.
And, it opens things up for Derrick Henry even more. And I do believe in Mike Vrabel being able to, get the defense back on track, at least to average. So, I've got them, pretty much cleaning up their division. I don't think that they'll struggle with a lot of these teams. And that's why, I got them at such a high record at 13-4.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans got 13 or 14 wins and maybe was the number two seed in the AFC. And now moving to the West, Joe, when we mentioned the AFC West, you said that the Chiefs might have a little bit of competition with the Chargers. So I'm curious to hear what are your records for this AFC West?
Yeah, so I got the Chiefs winning it, like I said, at 14-3. I think this team is going to be just as elite as always, maybe
Mhm.
even better with a revamped offensive line. Um, so I don't think there's a lot to say about them. I mean, they do somehow always find ways to lose to like the Raiders.
Mhm.
So I could see that happening again, and I could see the Chargers getting a win off of them as well this year. I've got the Chargers following up pretty close at 12-5. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, I've got the Chargers having a really good season. I talked about it with our preview. Justin Herbert, I think, is poised to take a big step. He's got Austin Eckler there healthy. He's had a full off season as the starter. And, they've got some defensive guys coming back combined with Brandon Staley, who led the Rams to the number one defense last year. So I think that the Chargers are going to have a really good season and be the top wild card team this year. Unfortunately, they're just in the same division as the Chiefs.
Right.
And then I got the Broncos at 6-11. While I do think that this is going to be a really good defense, I just think that Teddy Bridgewater gives you such a low ceiling in a division where there's so much firepower. Like you have to be able to score points, and while he has guys like Jerry Judy and Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant and KJ Hamler and a couple good running backs as well. It's if you can't stretch the field and you're just checking the ball down left and right, you're not going to put up points. So, while like I said, I think the defense is going to do well, and I think they could potentially sneak some wins out here with some time of possession kind of games where they just kind
Mhm.
of dominate in that regard. Um, I just don't see it, with Teddy Bridgewater as a starting quarterback. I think if it was Drew Lock in there, I just think that gives you higher upside. And I think that, in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, you've gotta roll the dice and can't play the safe option. Um, and then I got the Raiders going 4-13. I think that this is when the Raiders finally move on from Derek Carr and potentially Mike Mayock as well. I mean, they've had a lot of high draft picks over the last couple of years that have just really not looked good. A lot of bad free agent contracts as well. And I mean, this is a team that when they were doing well, they had a really good offensive line. They were running the ball well with Josh Jacobs, and Derek Carr was, taking shots off play action. Now you've ravaged this phenomenal offensive line, and you've added a Kenyon Drake, which I don't understand for fantasy purposes, and I also just don't really see, how that's going to help you. And again, in this division where you have to score points, keep that offensive line. Instead of signing Kenyon Drake, sign a receiver, sign a Robbie Anderson, add some more speed, along with Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfro and all those guys. So I just don't see what the Raiders are really doing here, what they're building. I think that, I mean, they can't move on from John Gruden, but I think that it's going to be a year where they have to tear a lot down, and Derek Carr is gone, and Mike Mayock's gone as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on the final two teams, the Broncos. They have a lot of quarterback questions. Joe, we said it a couple of weeks ago in our AFC West preview. We said Drew Lock had a great preseason week one. Hopefully he can take that next step. And then 2 days later, they announced Teddy Bridgewater as the starting quarterback. So there's a lot of talent there with Jerry Judy and now a healthy Cortland Sutton, even Noah Fant. Running backs, Melvin Gordon, very serviceable. He's still pretty young. When he came out of college, he was a rather young guy. And now Javonte Williams. I don't know how to pronounce Javante or Javonta out of North Carolina. And like they have some talent there on offense, but we all were like Drew Lock, Drew Lock, Drew Lock, and then they were like Teddy. And so I think the defense, you nailed it. The defense is going to be there now that Von Miller is back and healthy, a little bit healthier defense. So I think it will be there. I also have them at 6 wins. I also had the Raiders at 6 wins, but I just changed it to 5 wins, going 5 until you nailed everything correctly. This is just not a great team. Josh Jacobs not that great when he doesn't carry the ball. I mean, for fantasy, Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs, but when you have 30 carries, sure, you're probably going to get above 100 yards and you're probably going to get a touchdown. But Kenyon Drake is a goal line machine and a passing game machine as well. So he might be vulturing a lot of touchdowns from Josh Jacobs. But this is real football. We're not talking about fantasy, Joe. But this is just a bad team. You said everything. Mike Mayock is gone. I mean, how many first round picks have they had? And when they drafted somebody, all the experts were like, okay, yeah, like they drafted this guy that we all picked, like ranked like 50th, like mid
Yeah.
second round guy. So I don't know what Mike Mayock is doing at all, and I'm just not a believer in Gruden, man. Like, yes, he won a Super Bowl, but that's because he went to a team that was already relatively stacked, and then happened to play the old team he was coaching in the Super Bowl, so he knew everything. So I'm not a
Yeah.
believer. I do like the Chargers this year, not as much as 12-5, Joe. I have them at 10-7, still making the playoffs as the number 6 seed, and then the Chiefs. Look, man, until it happens, they're going to go 15-2 and be the number 1 seed in the AFC until they lose a couple of games. Now, I do think I don't want to say people have figured it out, but we have seen with some of the Raiders games and even the Browns in the playoffs last year. It's not like a couple of years ago when Mahomes was just beating everybody 55-0, and we were like, "This is the greatest thing ever." So they are coming back to earth a little bit, but they're still dominant. A little bit of a weaker division with the Broncos and Raiders for sure. I mean, last year I don't think Mahomes had a touchdown, and they still won like 27-7 against the Broncos with a couple of defensive and special teams touchdowns. So
Right.
they are a winning machine. And as I just said, I have Chiefs 1, Bills 2, Ravens 3, Titans 4, Browns 5, Chargers 6. And I do have the Dolphins coming in at the 7 seed. Now, Joe, you have a couple of you have a new division winner, and you also have the Ravens and Dolphins at 11-6 as the wild card team. So what's your 1-7 looking like in the AFC?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs 1, the Bills 2, the Browns 3, the Titans 4, the Chargers 5, and then the Ravens 6 and the Dolphins 7.
All right, so we pretty much have we all have the same AFC playoff teams, just a little bit different seeding and division
Right.
winners and everything like that. And as I was saying, Joe, for wild card weekend, I have the Bills defeating the Dolphins, the Ravens defeating the Chargers, and the Titans defeating the Browns. So that was going to be a very close game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns did do it, but after picking my only upset wild card weekend was the 5 over the 4 in the NFC, I was like, I can't do that again. Let me just go with the Titans on this one. Divisional round, I have the Chiefs beating the Titans. I do have the Bills defeating the Ravens. Gotta put on my unbiased hat here, Joe. Don't think we're just there yet. Don't think even if we are a wild card team, Joe, I can see us winning that game, much like last year, Tennessee, and then
Right.
being competitive with the Bills. I just don't think we're there yet to take that next step. However, in the conference championship game, I do have a new representative in the AFC. I do have the Buffalo Bills defeating the Chiefs going on the road to Arrowhead. Joe, how about yourself? How does your AFC playoffs look like?
I've got the Chiefs beating the Bills in the AFC Championship. I mean, what have the Bills done this offseason to upgrade? Like, what have they added that makes them, defend like, they haven't
Yeah.
done anything to make me change my mind or think that they're gonna beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I mean, this is the same Bills roster as last year, essentially, just no John Brown and instead Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, it's still Devin Singletary and Zach Moss at running back. They're not going to run the ball very much. It's still going to be a good defense, and Josh Allen's going to throw it to Stephon Diggs, a ton. Um, and like I said, I think they'll make it to the AFC Championship. It's a very good team and a well coached team and just a good organization. But again, they just haven't done enough for me to say that they're going to beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. So they're also kind of in a similar spot to Green Bay, where
Mhm.
unfortunately, while the Bills are peaking, and this might be as good, like they just extended Josh Allen. Now it's going to be tough to kind of keep this roster together over the next couple of years. So we might be seeing the best of the Buffalo Bills between last year, this year, maybe next year, and then they kind of come back down to earth a little bit. So it's unfortunate that the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are just the new
Mhm.
Patriots in the AFC, and there's no good reason to pick against them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for all those reasons. I just think, I mean, last year the Bills played the Chiefs on a Thursday night. It was supposed to be a great game for Bills Mafia. And then, of course, with no fans, a little bit of a disappointing game. Last year was a little bit of disappointment performance from them in the AFC Championship game. I think it's going to be like a couple of years ago, that Patriots Chiefs AFC Championship game. Chiefs are definitely going to be outplaying them, but for some reason the score is still there. Maybe an interception late, or a fumble, or a turnover, not an offsides, but something similar, maybe an overtime game, and the Bills are just going to barely squeak by. Now, Joe, now it's time for the Super Bowl. You have a repeat of the Bucs and the Chiefs. I have the Bucs and the Bills. Who is winning the Super Bowl for you? Who is your pick?
You know, I did this last year, Tim. I picked the same two teams that are in the Super Bowl the year before with the Niners and the Chiefs. And here I am again with the Bucs and the Chiefs. And I'm picking another Bucs victory. Tom Brady does it again. And this could be the end for Tom Brady after this season, riding off into the sunset. I've got them beating the Chiefs 31-21. While I think it's going to be closer than it was last year, I think that the Bucs are still going to handle this team pretty easily. Chiefs score a touchdown or two in the fourth quarter, kind of in garbage time. Score seems a little bit closer than the game actually is, but this Bucs team, man, I can't pick against them. I mean, with what they did last year with no offseason, a brand new roster, and just when we saw that team get hot and have the chemistry kind of all click and come together, it's one of the best teams I've ever seen. So I can't pick against that. I mean, it's Tom Brady again this year. He's back. And I think that he could have an even better season than last year.
Joe, I'm with you on that 100%. I do have the Bucs defeating the Bills in the Super Bowl. Don't have a score for you, but I'm getting like 2007 Patriots vibes from this team. They returned every starter. They even added a Giovanni Bernard on offense. They had another great draft, adding some pieces. I think this is it. I think this is Brady's swan song. They're going to go 17-0 in the regular season. They're going to win their 3 playoff games. They're going to go 20-0, and they are going to do it, Joe. The Buccaneers are going to be going undefeated for the first time since 1972, Miami Dolphins, and I think this is it. I think Brady rides off to the sunset. They've returned every starter, Joe. That has not happened for quite some time. So returning every starter, adding some other key pieces in free agency as well as the draft. That defense is still going to be there. Brady giving a full offseason now, especially with guys like Gronk, who came out of retirement, and Antonio Brown, who was bouncing around, having a full offseason with them as well. Mike Evans, this team, I mean, and looking at their schedule now, who are they going to lose to? Like week three at the Rams.
Oh, there's one team they'll lose to.
Week 7 at home against the Bear. Oh no, so yeah, but like week 3 they're at the Rams. That'll be a tough game. Then they go at New England. I think it could be a very emotional first half for Brady. Then they'll turn on the Jets. Week 6 against the Eagle. Oh, that's a Thursday night game. That's a Thursday night road game.
That's the one. Brady's gonna be rattled going up against this Philadelphia Eagles D line. Brandon Graham is gonna be chirping all game.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is gonna be outmaneuvering that pass rush. And the Eagles are gonna win, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my God, the Eagles are for real!" And then they're gonna come back to earth once again, and probably go on a losing streak to end the season. But that'll be one of their 2 losses I got.
All right, sure, Joe. Sure, you can believe that, but I think they're going undefeated. Now let's take a look at a couple of quick offseason awards. My MVP is obviously going to be Tom Brady. If you go undefeated, they're obviously going to put up numbers. So I have Tom Brady. My non-quarterback offensive player of the year, non-quarterback MVP, I do have Christian McCaffrey. We both have the Panthers. I have the Panthers in the playoffs, at 10 wins. And I think a healthy McCaffrey is going to elevate that offense a little bit more and kind of carry them to the playoffs. And we figured that out right before recording. So we named off like 4 or 5 guys, and I was just like, all right, I'm just going to write down Christian McCaffrey. Defensive player of the year, I think this is the year that TJ Watt gets what he deserves. Ben Roethlisberger says that he should be paid. Probably should have won last year, but Aaron Donald is still there. So I have TJ Watt finally getting his defensive player of the year. My offensive rookie of the year, I'm riding the Zach Wilson train over in New York. I think it's going to be similar to last year. Everybody's going to say, oh, Burrow, Tua, blah, blah, blah. And then it ends up being Herbert, one of the other guys in the first round. So I think this year everybody's going to say, oh, it's Lawrence or Fields or Lance or Mac Jones. And it's going to be Zach Wilson. And then my defensive rookie of the year, I don't know that many defensive rookies. That was a very offensive first round. So I'm just going to go with Odafe Oweh of the Ravens, baby, 10 plus sacks, book it, defensive rookie of the year. Joe, how about some of your NFL awards?
All right. So MVP, we're in the same mindset. Tom Brady, he's going to have a dominant season outside of one game against the Eagles and maybe the Giants as well. And then offensive player of the year, non-quarterback, I'm going with Travis Kelce. There's a couple people that, I think it could be because, while I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a great year, I just don't see the Panthers having that playoff success. And, that's why I don't think it would be him. So to me, it was kind of between, a Travis Kelce, a Devontae Adams, or a Derrick Henry. And I just think that Travis Kelce is going to continue to dominate like he has. For defensive player of the year, I also originally had TJ Watt written down, but as I was thinking about it and looking at my predictions, with me thinking the Steelers are going to be bad at 7-10, I don't think there's any way that even if he has a great year, I mean, last year the Steelers started off 11-0, and
Right.
TJ Watt was a huge part of that. I think he should have gotten it last year, but unfortunately, I think it's going to be Aaron Donald once again. I mean, no Brandon Staley. Matt Stafford is here. They're going to win the division. I think the team's going to have the success. He's going to have the stats, and he's going to be a huge part of the team's success. Offensive Rookie of the Year, you might call me biased, Tim, but let me give you
Oh no.
let me give you my reasons why it won't be other people. So your Zach Wilson prediction, totally way off. They're going to be 5-12. So, it's not going to be Zach Wilson, even though he'll have a good year. Kind of the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. They're not going to be good, so it's not going to be him. Although I think both of them will have good quarterback years. The other quarterbacks, I mean, I don't think it'll be Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones has probably the next highest chance. I would
Okay.
say that Mac Jones would be my second place here. But Trey Lance and Justin Fields not going to start enough. Najee Harris, he's not. The Steelers aren't going to be good. I don't think that he's going to be able to get the stats enough. But let me talk to you about the first Heisman winning wide receiver since, 1991. Devante Smith is about to break a bunch of records. I think he has a chance to break Justin Jefferson's record from last year simply because there's that 17th game. I think that he's
Right.
going to break a lot of records for rookie wide receiver, specifically in Philadelphia. I think he's going to have, just a phenomenal year. I mean, he's going to break a ton of team records. I think he's going to break a lot of rookie records. He's going to
Mhm.
pass the eye test. He's going to have the stats. He's going to have some game-winning touchdowns. He's going to be the reason why the Eagles defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's going to be glorious. So Devontae Smith will be your offensive rookie of the year, and the Eagles will be relevant 7-10 rather than a 4-win team. So with a wide receiver having all those stats, it'll have to be him. And then defensive rookie of the year. I also wasn't exactly too sure who to go with, but I kind of went with one of your team's picks. The team that you picked to do well. I'll just say it's J.C. Horn for the Carolina Panthers out of the
Hey.
University of South Carolina. I think that he's going to be a big part of the Panthers having a good season and taking a step in the right direction. You talked about how this is a young secondary, not many veterans at all. I don't think it matters. J.C. Horn, his father, Joe Horn, was a wide receiver, told him, go play cornerback. You'll be even better than me. And I think he's going to have a phenomenal season and, just be a number one corner off the bat. So that's what I got, Timmy B. I'm running out of steam,
Hey.
baby.
Hey, love to hear that. Well, Joe, good news. We're almost done. 45, 50 minutes, an hour. And if you guys are still here watching this, because of course you are, hit that thumbs up button again to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, Joe, we got a football game to pick tonight. We got the Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as we mentioned earlier. Buccaneers are an 8-point favorite, and the over-under is set at 52. Joe, I don't think it's any surprise I'm going with Tampa Bay because I picked them to go undefeated. You hate the Cowboys, so I'm pretty sure you're picking the Bucs. But now let me ask you this. What can the Cowboys do tonight to maybe pull off the upset?
Well, the Cowboys are going to have to overcome a lot of odds. I mean, this is an offense with weapons, on paper. I mean, you look at Dak Prescott, you look at CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Blake Jarwin's back. Ezekiel Elliott is slimmed down, sure.
Tony
You
Pollard as
know,
well, you know.
Tony Pollard. Hey, don't get me started. Tony Pollard's a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott, but that's neither here nor there. This team they would have to just have a great offensive performance because I don't see this defense slowing Tampa Bay down in any way, shape, or form. And I see Tampa Bay's I don't see it as a possibility for the Cowboys to win this game. I'll throw it out there. I don't see it happening because I mean on paper the Bucs just outmatch them. I mean
Mhm.
you look at the chemistry. We talked about how last year they didn't have the chemistry and now they've got it. All 22 starters are back. They've all been practicing together. Everybody is healthy. Ndamukong Suh's just coming off the COVID list. You look at the flip side, Zach Martin is on the COVID list. He tested positive. They don't have their one of, if not their best player, and their interior offensive lineman who's supposed to be the guy to help out against the Ndamukong Suh and the Vita Vea. And then Dak Prescott has barely practiced this offseason, and he's coming back off this injury.
Mhm.
How is he going to respond to, the ankle injury that he had multiple surgeries on, and now this new shoulder injury and lack of practice reps? And now your best offensive lineman's out, and you're going up against Tampa Bay. I don't see this being a close game at all. Maybe in the first half it's a little close, but I've got the final score 38-17 Buccaneers.
38-17 Buccaneers. Yeah, I have the Bucs winning this game. I agree with you. It could be very, very ugly for the Cowboys. I don't see them winning this game at all, unless for some reason injuries happen a lot on the Buccaneers side to some of their key players. Knock on wood for my undefeated pick. But yeah, this is not going to end well. But I have the Buccaneers. I don't know if I have a score yet. Over under 52 right now. Yeah, I'm not. I could definitely see this as being like a 28-0 type of game. I'm not ready to give a score or the over under, but I'm going with the Bucs. You're going with the Bucs, and Joe, week 1 is finally here. Cannot wait to pick some more games with you throughout the season. And likewise, if you guys want to be a guest, definitely reach out to us, and we'll reach out to some of our friends as well to get you on to be a guest picker. But Joe, any final words?
Hey, shout out my boy Fab, with JC Horn, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Shout out me, Devante Smith, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And shout out my boy Timmy B, making this all happen, putting this all together, doing all the editing and stuff, all the posting. Timmy B does a lot. I just kind of come on here and talk football. So, it's cool for me to do that. But Tim is the brains of the operation. And, he, when you throw that you
Woo!
comment, you come on here, you're bringing joy to Timmy B's heart. So keep it up, gentle listeners.
Absolutely. And Joe, I'm very excited to be sitting here in these seats again come January, February, as we see maybe the Vikings have 12 wins and instead of our 6 or 7 that we predicted. Maybe the Ravens go 7. I just kidding. But it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the season how close we were on our picks. And as we said with our game picks, Joe, you were 1 game better than me. And I remember I put my Ravens hat on for a couple of those COVID games. So hopefully that hat will not be on again this year. But I'm excited. We got week 1 of the NFL season, guys. That is Joey D over there. I'm Timmy B, and we will see you guys very soon. Peace.